All right, so this kind of got lost in the shuffle with Kendrick dropping a new album, but 𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏 is exploring legal options after the publication and release of a new, what they call unauthorized book called High and Rising, a book about 𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏 by Marcus J. Moore.
No relation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So on Tuesday, November 19th, author Marcus J. Moore published his new book, High and Rising, a book about 𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏. On Day Street Books today, the legendary hip-hop group took to social media to denounce the unauthorized book, saying they're exploring all of our legal options. Friends and 𝗘𝗏 family, we've been receiving congratulatory messages about a book called High and Rising. However, we want to make it absolutely clear this is an unauthorized book, and we are not connected to it in any way. For years, you've stood with us in our fight for ownership of our catalog and the right to benefit from the music we created. That same dedication to protecting what's ours extends to being the one who tells our story, something deeply personal and 𝗘𝗏 to the core. Our story will be told in our words and our way with the style you've come to know and love. Until then, we encourage you to indulge in the authentic Daisy age by supporting projects backed by us. If you choose to support this book, that is your right. We just wanted to be clear that we do not and are exploring all of our legal options. Even within the book's title, the 3 is missing, which shows how inauthentic it is, because for us, 3 will always be the magic number. We're cooking up something special for spring 2025, so the wait won't be long for more of that authentic 𝗘𝗏. You guys have any initial thoughts on that statement?
You know, it's kind of crazy because I remember in the 80s specifically when there were a lot of, unauthorized biographies of celebrities. I remember there was one, I remember one about Michael Jackson happening and Liz Taylor, of that era where it was, but this is when the tabloid thing was very heavy, and like some of those people would wind up, writing entire books. So, I mean, in a way, I of course I'm not going to buy this. No. If the group tells me that they don't support it, and that this is something inauthentic, then I'm going to abide by their wishes. I'm a fan enough of 𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏 to do that. But there are people who just don't have the same investment as far as hip hop, or even just by the group to care enough. They just want the information. I think that it almost is. In a way, I know there's some people who are like, "Wow, you've really made it if you got somebody writing your unauthorized biography."
I don't think this is a biography, though.
Or just
it's just a book about 𝗘𝗏 from Marcus J. Moore's interpretation.
Okay,
and when his take on stuff.
I mean, because I saw somebody do this on basically kind of about In Living Color. But it didn't have the Wayans brothers involved with it.
Well, that takes all the power away.
But, it's like, okay, you just basically go off of the things that are in the public record, and you compile those things, and you create almost a compilation of, a written history of In Living Color. So I don't know, because I remember the individual who wrote the book was on Breakfast Club. This is several years ago. And I remember being very interested, but then when I hear the Wayans brothers aren't involved, I'm like, eh.
There's also a statement here, maybe I should read, from the author itself as well. So he said, fans are not quite loving the situation, defending Marcus J. Moore and his right to pay homage to the crew. In 2020, he also published the book Butterfly Effect: How Kendrick Lamar Ignited the Soul of Black America. In April, he wrote on social media this: "It is my extreme pleasure to share with you the cover of my new book, High and Rising. This book has been a labor of love and struggle over the past 4 years, completed in the wake of Dave's passing and my mother's death. Part of it wrestles with grief and mourning in public, and how to move forward when the body and mind refuses. High and Rising is a cultural biography, with critical analysis. It's also a memoir that not only celebrates 𝗘𝗏, it unpacks my coming of age. At the behest of friends and colleagues, I'm asserting my voice and perspective a lot more in this book and elsewhere moving forward. For those of who ask, Marcus, what are your thoughts? This one's for you. Ultimately, High and Rising gives flowers to 𝗘𝗏 for inspiring a black boy from Landover to be his genuine self. It doesn't give passes to albums and attitudes that were less than ideal. It honors my family. I'm embracing what the universe keeps telling me I am. Pre-orders alive. With love, Marcus." And Marcus is involved in hip-hop community.
Then why not talk to 𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏 about it?
That's my thing.
That's
because
what I was going to say.
But who said that he didn't? Maybe he did, and that they didn't respond or something like that.
This is true.
I kind of equate this in the same manner to, like, does this mean that nobody should ever do an album review? Does this mean that we shouldn't cover certain topics if we don't have permission from certain people to do? Does this mean that we shouldn't sample if we don't have permission. Is kind of a playback to De La as well. I'm just saying, like,
yeah, I mean that makes sense, but to me, I think it's when we talk about De La, we know that they've kind of been screwed royally when it comes to record deals and all kind of things that sort that they shouldn't even have to worry about. But at one point in time, they gave their whole discography away for free, just because they didn't own it. Essentially, they just wanted everybody to have it. But I think this is just an unfortunate situation where a fan decided to do something, and maybe he didn't go through the right paths to clear it, because if he's selling it, I feel like De La should get some kind of percentage. So even I don't think anything is necessarily wrong with him actually doing it, but it's a book. It's not like an article that's going to be featured in like a magazine or something like that. It doesn't have the same ties as somebody that's just writing a passage in a magazine. So if he's selling a book and it's available in bookstores and it's talking about the life and times essentially of De La Soul told from his point of view, I feel like they should have some kind of compensation in it. And that's kind of the short end of it to me. I don't think it's any bigger or smaller than that. As far as you're telling my story, I should get something off of it.
Yeah, I guess I just don't agree at all. I think I mean, like, I understand.
Agree that they need something off of it?
No, yeah, exactly.
But they should ask for permission.
No, I don't even really think. I mean, I think most likely he did probably ask for permission. You know, like, I do probably think that. I mean, he seems like somebody who does his due diligence based upon who he is. But, like, how many books out there are written from somebody's perspective about something that is just talking about a specific thing? Like, it almost comes down to an argument of, like, freedom of press and freedom to share thoughts in that manner. I don't know. I guess I just don't really agree with that. Like, I think I can look at this from an interesting duality of, like, I understand that De La Soul is probably extremely sensitive around their IP based upon the history of the things that have happened to them.
Right.
Yep.
Like, I can acknowledge that, but to potentially be pursuing legal recourse over somebody who was a huge fan, but somebody that obviously covers hip hop because he's got a book about Kendrick as well, to go to the length of wanting to, like, sue somebody over this. The only
did you say they wanted? So they do want to sue him for writing it, because they didn't say
they're exploring
legal options.
Because they didn't say
options.
anything about a cease and desist, and they also said that they weren't telling people not to necessarily buy the book. They're just saying that we didn't create this.
I don't think they have any type of legal precedent outside of the fact that the cover is yellow and it looks like 3 feet high, right? Like, they use the same type of what's the word?
Typography.
Yeah. You know, so, like,
and plus it's pictures of them on it.
That's the other. Yeah, so that's the other piece. Like, so I think, like, with that specifically, yes, okay, I think potentially. But if I just want to randomly, like, I made an essay documentary about CeeLo covering all the things that, you know, that a lot of the stuff about him, and I spent a lot of time putting that together, and I did it in as good of taste as I felt like I, you know, should have and did.
Right.
Does that mean that we can't do that anymore? Like, we can't, like...
I see where you're coming from.
Like,
I can see where you're coming from as far as that's concerned. But when it comes to, like, you mentioned there are pictures and things of that thing in there. So they should at least be compensated for their likeness being in this book, so to speak.
I think that's where I fall in line with this is their likeness being used, obviously. And I just think De La has been, to Lone's point, and he talked about their history. We've all been aware of their history. We've all alluded to it. They've just been conditioned to always be on the defense if they see something that they did not authorize or something that may go against what they vouched for, what they obviously put their stamp of approval on. I will say, though, after hearing Lone read his full explanation, I thought it was very well written, and it doesn't seem like it's coming from a bad place. The way he broke it down, and he also included himself, his family and experience in dealing with loss, tying that into them. Maybe if I had heard that first, maybe my opinion may have been a little bit different, because that part right there made me think a little bit more about it from the writer's perspective. But at the end of the day, it's just, you know, my face is on the front of this book, so just throw me a bone and keep it moving.
From that perspective, I can see, like, the actual physical face
likeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and just to kind of tie it back into some of the things that we've been through. It was like, look, on that documentary,
Yeah.
it was my face and my voice.
2 documentaries.
2, yeah.
2.
And on the other one, it was your face and your voice. And, it's a weird feeling because you're like, oh, wow, all these people are going to see my face and my voice. But at the same time, it's like, all these people are going to see my face and my voice. And it could have been completely out of context. Right. And, you can take worst case scenario with this because, sometimes when you become just a part of the public, you become a part of the public. Like, yeah, I don't know if anybody remembers, I can understand if you completely erased it from your memory. Lex Alexander was in a Michael Jackson.
Oh my God. Please don't bring that up.
That was not authorized in any way by Michael Jackson, the Jacksons, anybody.
Or any Lifetime movie for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And so, like, if they can wind up doing something like that and not get sued, a whole movie about someone's life, of course they couldn't clear any of the music. It was the same thing when they did, basically an unauthorized biography of Aaliyah, and they could the only music they could put in there was the songs that she had remade by other songwriters. Nothing that was actually an Aaliyah song was in the movie. So honestly, a book, like there's part of me that has a level of curiosity about it, just because I don't have any other context or no other, like they haven't released what they're going to do, and I think that's part of it because it's like, hey, wait a minute. We're working on something. Yeah. And for lack of a better term, you could be the biggest super fan in the world, but you beat us to the punch for us being able to tell our own story.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's
unfortunate.
That's unfortunate, but it is, look, just like there's already a Michael Jackson movie, but there's about to be for lack of a better term, a real Michael Jackson movie.
Yeah. And there's also 19 Batmans. So there's that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Now it's different. Different. But still at the same time, like if 19 Batman movies can exist, then surely multiple biographies or multiple things covering the legacy, especially if it's in a mostly positive light, most likely, or from somebody else's perspective. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? It just seems it's a very, I just hate this. Like I hate it when either the mechanisms aren't in place to properly support everything, and I hate it when they don't align. But I also just hate the idea of like shutting fans down that want to pay homage and cover in a positive way and stuff. And I'm saying this obviously selfishly from somebody who's spent half my life doing this at this point, as far as like covering music and writing articles about people or making videos about people or talking about people on this show. And essentially we don't really get anything in return for anything. Right. So it's like, I guess I myself, in the same way 𝗓𝗏 is maybe sensitive, I'm a little bit sensitive to the other side of it, that where it seems like this guy, Marcus Moore, is doing a solid. Now, granted, yes, he's an author and he's making money off of it, but like he could have covered a tribe. He could have covered somebody else. I don't know. Maybe he couldn't because this is obviously part of his life. You know what I mean? But
this too it's not anything that's new under the sun as far as people unauthorized biography, so to speak. When it comes to a journalism point of view, I guess it's fair game from that. But again, using somebody's likeness and things like that, that's my only concern as far as compensation wise. I don't think that they should give a higher percentage to 𝗓𝗏 for writing this book. But I feel like he should at least throw him a bone or something on the back end. But at the same time,
they don't want it.
𝗓𝗏, they're going to tell their own story the way that they want to tell it. Yeah. So nobody can tell you a story like you. So, I mean.
Yeah, I think to me again, I think the only potential from a legal standpoint, and even just from like an ownership standpoint, like this is Marcus's book. You know what I mean? It's his thing. And so like if he is long, I think, obviously you can kind of see the picture here. This is what they posted on their Instagram, but it's like, it is their likeness and it is their
story.
It's their story, but at the same time, it's his story about them. And that, right? Yeah. But I'm talking specifically about like how the actual images that we're using, the font type that was used, all that is actually 𝗓𝗏 Soul's. So that's actually making it feel like it is 𝗓𝗏 Soul's to an extent.
Which is I'm assuming very triggering to them because that is the font, that is the color palette.
Right.
All that's
their
the same.
Faces.
Yeah.
And their faces. Yeah. So I can see why they might be triggered.
From that perspective, I can agree. But as far as like the piece of work, nah, I can't. I respect, but like it's just kind of a weird thing, man. I don't know.
I think it's dope to actually see these situations pop up and actually come from a good place. Because we've seen alternatives where sometimes people just put out a whole bunch of BS and slap somebody's picture on it or likeness. This guy seems to be genuine based off how he broke it down and described it. So I can respect that. It's not coming from a bad place, based off how he described it.
Yeah, and I guess if they're slandering them by any means or something, then they can just sue them. So I mean,
true.
There's a whole lot of that going on nowadays.
Man, they suing out here left and right.
Keep lawyers out of hip hop. No, actually, we need lawyers in hip hop.
Sometimes we need them.
Yeah. Because some of y'all are doing some genuinely foul stuff, and lawyers have to get involved.
That part.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope positivity for both
Everybody
sides
involved
on this, and I
Peace, love, and 𝗓𝗏.
Peace, love, and 𝗓𝗏.
I want 𝗓𝗏 to win, but at the same time, like,
it's
just one of those weird situations.
I don't think this book will undercut anything that they have prepped for next year. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So
yeah, if 𝗓𝗏
because people don't read,
right?
Well, that
part.
So. Yeah, but if they put out a statement, I follow 𝗓𝗏 on basically on all their socials. They're like, hey, we have a book coming out on June 17th. I'll be first in line to get that book.
If it was from 𝗓𝗏?
If it's from 𝗓𝗏, there is a certain level of curiosity I have for this book as well. But curiosity led me to watch that terrible Michael Jackson movie with Flex Alexander.
Yeah, I didn't make it all the way through that.
I didn't make it all the way through, but I'm not going to cap and say I didn't watch.
That's why God took Flex's house.
Oh, man. I put that in the air like that.
But I also think, too, like when I think of like how the modern ways that we're moving towards with content and everything like that, when we think about the Kendrick stuff that just happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it a lot. A bazillion other content creators talked about it and gave their perspectives at the same time.
They did.
All of it at the same time does one main thing for the artist and whatever we're talking about. It amplifies whatever that is for that artist to work to exist in whatever it is. And at the end of the day, people can make up their own determination based upon whatever it is, or people can comment and be like, oh, this is actually wrong, or this is whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like the way that it's moving I don't feel like this is a legal thing. Like this is, I don't know. Anyways.
For a group that's missed out on some bags, it probably makes them feel a little different.
I'm sure it does.
Versus like, with the new way things move, that actually gives the artist more credence and more eyes on them and more, publicity. So
yeah,
with 𝗓𝗏, I kind of feel like that ship is sailed. So they're trying to be able to capitalize on all their gains. So I understand it.
That's well said.
I feel what you're saying.
That's well said.
I get it, but because I missed out on something, like I don't want to make it worse for other people. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, like I built this thing. What's the whole quote about, building something, planting trees is where you won't see the fruit and stuff like that. Sometimes you got to take that L, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyways, legends.
Facts.